Okay, so 7.3, reflections. We'll do the rotations tomorrow. Graph the results of reflections and rotations on a coordinate grid. So all I want to do is work through the two examples and we're done. Yeah? Okay, so we get rid of the book. You can follow along, the book's right there. Okay, so, well, first let's read the book. Basically, we're determining the coordinates of the image of triangle ABC after a reflection in the x-axis. Do you guys remember those grade 5, grade 6, you used those red mirrors probably? Yeah. Red pieces of plastic that they called red mirrors. So a red lens of some sort that you would put wherever the translation was going to happen, or sorry, the reflection was going to happen, and you'd look through and you'd be able to draw it? Yes. All right, so if we have a translation in the x-axis for this image here, if we have a translation in the x-axis, am I using this or am I using this? So if we have quadrants 1, 2, 3, and 4, thanks Ivy again, where's my translated image in the reflected in the x-axis? Where is my reflected image going to be? 3. It's going to end up in 2, 3, or 4? 2. Do we remember? No. Okay. So we're translating this in the x-axis. Now somebody tell me, if I point my pencil here, is that the x-axis? No. It's the y, right? And this is the x. So if I translate something in the x-axis, I'm doing it, or sorry, I keep saying translate. If I reflect something in the x-axis, I'm doing it with reference to the x-axis, right? My mirror is along the x-axis. So it's going to end up here somewhere. Now, do we remember our steps to measuring where it's going to end up? It's honestly really simple. What do? I don't know. Let's pick a random point. We've got B here. All I have to do is count to my reflection point. And C, I count to my reflection point. A, the exact same thing. So somebody tell me, what is the coordinate for B here as it stands right now, the original image? 4. Sorry? 7, 4. Beautiful. Tamara, make sure you get in the right way. Okay. C, go with that one. Samara, what do we got? 6. 6. 1. 1. You're amazing. A. 2. 2, 4. All right. Now, if you're one step ahead and don't need to visualize it, I understand that you can do it in your head and that's perfect. But if you want to visualize it, all you have to do is count to your reflection point. So if this is my x-axis right here, and I'm reflecting something in the x-axis, it's just going to be this same image below the x-axis, the same distance. Whereas if I'm reflecting something on the y-axis, it's just going to be this same image reflected along that line and end up over here somewhere. It gets a tiny bit trickier when they're on the axis that you're reflecting it, but not that much. So count with me here. 1, 2, 3. Sorry. 1, 2, 3. 4. Now where do I put my new B, my reflected B? All I do is count on the exact same x coordinate for each one of these, and I count the same distance away from the reflection axis. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4. Now how do I denote that this is a reflection or a translation or a rotation? What do I do to this? I put a little apostrophe. Yeah, if it was the second image, I'd put a quotation mark. If it was the third image, I'd put 3 apostrophes. So what's my coordinate for the reflect, I keep saying translate, for the reflected B? 7, -4. Now, if you're noticing a trend on what you can do here to figure out the coordinates without actually drawing it out, visualizing it, and everything else, that's amazing, but just save it in your head for a few minutes and we'll get to it later. So someone do 6, 1 for me. C. 1. Are we going to stay at 6? Yeah. So we're going to stay at 6 and it's going to be 6, -1. Perfect. So C translated is, or reflected, I keep saying that, sorry, is 6, -1. Tamara, you want to do A here? If I even showed it to you? So we just count down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I go 1, 2, 3.
4.
Cool. -4, and do I stay on the same x coordinate?
Yeah.
So A reflected is going to be 2, -4. I hope you guys are starting to see that, what the numbers become without actually drawing it out. But if you're not, I don't really mind. You don't need to. There's a shortcut we'll get to in 1 second. Boom. Triangle ABC reflected in the x-axis.
Okay.
Yeah? Okay, let's reflect triangle ABC that's already reflected in the y-axis. Exact same example I do in the book. So I reflected in the y-axis, meaning I'm going to use this as my reflection axis, so this image is going to end up here.
3.
Cool, so all I do is count away here. 1, 2. Tamara, how many do I go here?
1, 2.
Cool. And that's going to be a what?
-4.
How do I denote it as the second reflection?
With 2 apostrophes.
Two apostrophes or a quotation mark. Now what are my coordinates?
-2 and -4.
Now if you're getting mixed up, you can always just mark the quadrants with what the symbols will be for each term. B, what does it become?
1, 2, 3.
Well, you can tell you don't have to count because you can see the 7 there, so it's just going to become -7, -4. B, quotation mark, is -7, -4. And C, okay, I'll take it, -6 and -1. -6, -1. And this is going to be C. Just connect the dots a tiny little bit. And we're done. So we reflected the image in the x-axis and then reflected that image in the y-axis. Baxter, I really don't understand. Are we okay? All right. We get the idea?
Yes.
Okay, now the only way this becomes somewhat more difficult is if you're not using the x or y axis as your reflection point. It's not hard, it just gets a little bit more tricky, but they give you fairly easy examples, so don't worry. So if you look then, so we're gonna skip the rotation part here, we'll talk about that tomorrow, and we're just gonna look at the bottom, so this is example 3 of graphing reflections here. So we have triangle ABC, a new triangle ABC has these coordinates, okay? Plot the image of triangle ABC after a reflection in the line that passes through the origin and 1, 1. So it makes it a tiny bit more difficult, but it's not much more difficult. How do I get to the origin? Am I there right now? Is this the origin? Yeah, all right. So if that's the origin, and this is 1, 1, all I have to do is I now have a new reflection line. I can't draw it. I now have a new reflection line, which is not the x or y axis. So someone tell me if I'm hot or cold with where this image is going to end up when I reflect it.
Cold.
Okay. Still cold?
Yes.
Still cold? Getting warmer? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's going to end up in here. Now how do you do it? I'll tell you, this example is easy because you can simply count this way. And they're obviously perfect numbers. So your trick is, you need a protractor. Your trick is you need to find 90-degree angles here. So it might be somewhat difficult to see, but it shouldn't be too bad. If you need to find 90-degree angles, you need to draw a line from each vertex to the line of reflection at a 90-degree angle. Okay, now I never really understood why these protractors didn't have gaps in here that you could draw. Because if I want to draw a 90-degree line, I have to go all the way up to here. But that's okay. So basically, you got to find a 90-degree line from each of the vertexes. So we hover over that right there to the vertex. That's a 90-degree line. So now if you're a math person at all, well, you can tell that since that's on a 45-degree angle, if it goes 45-degree angle that way, that'll be a 90-degree angle. Right? So the same then this way. That'll be a 90-degree angle, and that way. Have I lost anyone? I know my lines aren't straight and everything else. Have I lost anyone with what I just did there? No, right? Okay, so then all I do is I go on my 45-degree angle, and how far is it to get to this line, from A to this line? It's 1. So, there we go. This is gonna be my A reflected. So how many do I count as I go from here to here? Alejandro, goodbye. Adios.
3.
So I count 3. Awesome, Tamara, beautiful. 1, 2. It's gonna end up right on the y-axis. B. How many do I do, Tamara? Help me out one more time. 1, 2. So I go 1, 2. Perfect. Now I can just draw this. This is gonna be C reflected. Oh, sorry, B reflected, and this will be C reflected, and
We're done.
we're done. Now the examples I want you to do out of the book, first of all, thumbs up or thumbs down, or where are we? Everything's hunky-dory here, we get the idea? Okay, now I'm gonna tell you, the only way this becomes a little bit more difficult is if the image is on the X or Y axis and you're reflecting it in the X or Y axis. But it's not hard. All you have to do is count the steps that it takes to get back, or the numbers that it takes, or the lines that it takes to get back to your axis of reflection, and you're done. Okay, beauty.